Hello and welcome to Building a REST API using Flask and Python. I am Pratap and this course is a accumulation of my expertise on Python programming, from which I would like to help the new beginners and also the expert out there to gain more knowledge about Python so that they can work in the real life scenario. We'll be diving into the basic concept of Python. We'll learn how we can use Python as a REST API. We'll learn about what is a REST API. We'll learn about different applications such as VS Code, Postman, and so on. And we'll learn about how we can create an endpoint or a REST API. And also we'll see how we can consume all those endpoints. So by the end of this course, you'll be equipped with all the required skills of Python and other applications and other tools. So before we dive in, let's go through different applications, different environments that will be required while developing the REST API or while building the REST API. Remember, this is a learning journey, so feel free to explore, ask questions when you face any problem, engage with the community, and let's embark on this amazing journey to learn a new skill of Python and its applications. So if you have any question on the journey, please don't hesitate to reach out. Alright, let's get started. So to start building a REST API using Flask and Python, we'll have to set up different environments. So these are the applications which has to be installed in your machine. So these are really required to get started with the course. So the first is VS Code. So what's a VS Code? VS Code is a code editor where we'll be writing our Python code. It is developed by Microsoft and it has a powerful and rich ecosystem of extension and powerful features. So in order to install VS Code, you can go to Google and you can say code.visualstudio.com, or you can simply say VS Code and you can go on the first link. To have this installed, you can simply go and download from here. So if you're using Mac, so you can download for the Mac. If you're using Windows, and you can download for the Windows. And if you're using Linux, then you can go for the environment. Okay. So once you have VS Code installed, so the next tool which you require is Python. So what's a Python? Python is a programming language which is easy to learn. It's a versatile programming language known for its readability and wide range of application. So we'll be building our REST API using Python only. In order to have this Python installed in your machine, then you can download in multiple ways. You can either go with python.org and go and download Python, or I'd suggest a better way, which will be basically by using PyEnvironment. So basically PyEnv is a Python version manager, and as we go along the course or with your personal projects, we may need different versions of Python. So for that, if you want to manage those, then you can use PyEnv. So installing Python using PyEnv is also pretty simple. You can just follow this documentation. So you can choose either to download from the Python official website or using this PyEnv. So the next tool which we required is Postman. So Postman is a comprehensive API development tool which simplifies the process of designing, testing, and documenting our APIs. So basically, using our VS Code in Python, we'll be developing a REST endpoints, and we would like to test those endpoints, right? To test those endpoints, we can use Postman, or if you prefer, we can use Insomnia. But in this course, I'll be going with Postman. So to install Postman, you can go to postman.com. Like you can go to this, download the desktop app for either Windows or Mac or for Linux. Okay. So once you install Postman, so the next tool which we want to install is Docker. So what is Docker? So it's a platform which enables developer to containerize and deploy application with their dependencies. And also Docker ensures performance across different environments. So currently I'm using Mac, but it doesn't mean that you'll also be using Mac, right? You may use Windows or you may use Linux machines. But we want our code to be platform independent. So for that, we can use a tool called Docker. To have this Docker installed in our machine, please go to docker.com and go to Docker desktop. So here you can download for different operating system, for Mac, for Windows, or for Linux. Okay. And the next tool which we required is Git. What is a Git? So Git is a distributed version control system which allows to collaborative software development. So that means I want to keep track of the code which I've write. So for that we'll be using Git. Okay. So install Git. You can go and Google it, and you can go to this getting started with Git installation. Okay. So you can follow along. For Linux you can follow this, for macOS you can follow this, and for Windows you can follow this, right? So you can go to the documentation. And the next tool which we required for the development of this course is Node. So why do we need Node? Because in the course, we'll be developing a front end just for visualizing our endpoint. So for that, you can install Node. You can install Node in a couple of ways. You can either go to nodejs.org, or you can install by using NVM. So like PyEnv, which is a Python version manager, we have NVM, which is basically a Node version manager. So we can install different version of Node. Okay. So the next tool which we required is GitHub. So what is a GitHub? So it is a web-based platform that provides version control system where we can store our code. In order to have that Git place somewhere, we need to have a GitHub. Okay. And the next tool which we require is render.com. So what is a render.com? It's a cloud platform which is designed to simplify the development and scaling of our web application. So it is where we will be deploying our application, the REST API which we built, and we'll be hosting in our render.com. Okay. So before we continue to the next section, I hope you will install all the following applications and also create an account in github.com and render.com. So let's get started with the amazing journey to become and to build a REST API using Flask and Python. And best of luck and see you in the next one.